All right, well, here we have it. You just saw us unload it. It was a little bit precarious, but it was pretty straightforward. Wasn't sure how it was going to go with the awkward cherry picker situation where it's kind of in the garage and kind of out here on some pallets. That's just because of the small, the overhead door is not very tall. So we had to do some funky Jenga stacking, as you saw there, but we got it. So the deal with this is the transmission that I was after, the 4W70R in the two-wheel drive tailpiece variant. So this will bolt right up and work, and then it'll be two-wheel drive instead of the four-wheel drive like mine. So this was the simplest, most straightforward method, was just to go out and find the transmission. Ended up scoring the motor with the transmission for practically free. Traded the guy 4 solar panels, which I had nothing into them, so that's free by my books. Now, originally when I started talking to the guy about the motor, it sounded pretty promising through the Facebook Marketplace texts. So I was thinking, well, maybe I'll save some time and energy and just put this whole thing in the gray truck and be done. But upon getting the motor, I had a buddy help out and pick it up, so I didn't see it. I just, it was free. Let's just get it done. So after getting it here and seeing it, this guy was some kind of a crackhead redneck or something. I don't know what was going on, but the oil pan is gone, and it's been off for quite some time. There's like dirt and stuff on the crank. The way he pulled it out was not very conventional. So he did some damage to the intake manifold and some of the valve covers and stuff. Just, I don't think he knew what he was doing. But he was happy to get his 4 solar panels, and to be honest, I don't care because I'm happy to get the transmission. So we're not going to use this motor, but we will probably use it for some spare parts. It's good to have stuff like fuel rail, injectors, coils. I mean, if they're good, supposedly it was a running truck. I don't know, but I mean, even the starter, it's just good to have parts like this. So we need to get these two separated, get this transmission cleaned up. He did dent the transmission pan on the bottom, so that's not really great. I'll probably take it off and see how bad it looks, and I can either maybe straighten it out with a hammer, but it might just be best to replace it, or even just take the one off my transmission because they are the same. But besides that, it looks pretty good. I just need to get it cleaned up. So, I mean, it's a little bit of a bummer that the motor's not in the condition that I was hoping, but it's honestly probably for the best because overall this is a mystery motor. I don't know how many miles, don't know the condition, don't know how it was used, but the original plan, my motor in the white truck, I know a lot about that. I know the mileage of it. I've been pretty deep into that motor. Bore scoped it, compression tested it. It's got new intake manifold gasket, all new spark plugs, some new coils and injectors. So it's a motor I'm familiar with. It's a motor I trust. I've put quite a few thousand miles down it, and it's going to be better in the long run to have that motor that I know mated with this transmission. So it's going to be better, but at least we have this for parts. Oliver, what do you think of Dad's new motor? You think it's a crazy piece of junk? Oh, yeah, you do. So I've gone ahead and pulled those top 2 pallets out, get it kind of level. Most of the weight, I think, is on the pallets from the motor, and the transmission has got some weight. Tried to balance it as best I could without the oil pan. It's sitting on the oil pickup tube, whatever. So I pulled the bolts. They're 13 millimeter. There's 7 of them that I can find. I pulled the starter just so it doesn't get hung up, and it's still sitting here. I just took the last bolt out, and I went all the way around and made sure I didn't miss any. Nothing that I can see. So it turns out I did miss a step. I need to unbolt the flywheel from the torque converter. And the video I just saw, so you can do it through this starter opening hole here, and just rotate it around and get all of them. I don't know if there's 3 or there's 4 on this one, but we're gonna go ahead and do that now. Just kidding. It's actually a port specifically for this over here, where they're more lined up in the center. So we'll just go ahead and pull this rubber boot out, and yeah, I guess Ford was thinking when they were designing stuff. So that's gonna be a lot easier than trying to use an angly dangly wibbly wobbly bit to try to do it on the starter hole. So thank you, internet. Thank you, Ford engineers. go ahead and do this now. Well, for whatever reason, this thing is really hard to turn over by hand, and you have to turn it over to get to those crankshaft torque converter nuts. I was only able to get some of them through this hole. I had to take this bottom dust plate off to get the last, there's 4 of them total. And because I can't get a full rotation for some reason, I don't know if something's going on inside, or maybe it's all the dirt on the crank, but I didn't have my torque monster with me. I left it at work. So I've had this double barrel shotgun barrel laying around, and that did the trick nicely. I know that's a small ratchet, but I can't find my other tools. So yeah, there you have it. Okay, finally. Well, now that these 4 nuts are off of there, our transmission can finally be disconnected. Oh, there she is. 4W70R disconnected. Oops. Probably should have disconnected that. That's all right. Just our dipstick. Guess that makes me the dipstick for not disconnecting. Now it's disconnected. Took way longer than it should have, but we learned some stuff along the way. All right, well, I didn't film very much of this because there was a lot of me running back and forth doing sketchy stuff, and then now I've got a chain because it's really hard to roll in the sand, especially with the weight. So I'm going to pull it back slowly, hopefully not tip it.
Pull it back slowly, hopefully not tip it.
Well, that worked pretty well. I got to figure out where I can put this off to the side so I can still use this driveway for the rest of this project. Screwed the pooch. I'm out of breath, y'all. Okay, we got this lined up for the next step of the process, which is going to be pulling the motor we know, love, and trust. There we got our good 2-wheel drive transmission. Well, we hope it's good because we really don't know, but my reasoning is that truck was most likely parked where it was and parted out due to the engine, because there's clearly something wrong with the engine. And typically if you park a truck with a bad motor, pretty good chances it's got a good transmission. They don't both go bad at the same time. It's one or the other, or a different reason. But if it got parked for a bad motor, I'm willing to bet that that's a good transmission. As you saw in the video, this fell over while I was trying to pull it, and that was pretty tricky to get it stirred back up. Took me and Alex both to get her upright, but it's out of the way enough for now. This is not its final resting place, but it's good enough. Whew. I think it's time for a break.